What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, a group of nations controlling nearly half the world's population is building a financial system designed to make the US dollar irrelevant? No. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is BRICS. And in 2025 and 2026, they went from talking to actually doing it. They launched a gold-backed digital currency. They're linking their central bank digital currencies together. And they're settling billions in trade without a single dollar changing hands. But here's the twist. The United States is fighting back. Hard. Let's break down what's really happening. Why BRICS wants out. First, let's understand why this is happening at all. BRICS started as just 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But in 2024 and 2025, the bloc exploded. Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, the UAE, and Indonesia all joined as full members. 9 more countries signed on as partner nations, including Malaysia, Thailand, Kazakhstan, and even Bolivia. On paper, the numbers are staggering. BRICS now represents over 40% of global GDP and nearly half the world's population. If they were a single economy, they'd dwarf the United States. So why do these countries want to ditch the dollar? 3 reasons. Reason 1. Sanctions. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the West froze hundreds of billions of dollars in Russian reserves. Overnight. Every country in the world watched that and thought the same thing. That could happen to us. If your wealth is stored in dollars, it can be seized with a flip of a switch. Reason 2. Borrowing costs. When the U.S. Federal Reserve raises interest rates, the entire developing world suffers. Their debt, denominated in dollars, suddenly costs more. Their currencies crash. It's like paying rent in someone else's house, and the landlord keeps raising the price. Reason 3. Control. The SWIFT banking system, which processes almost every international transaction, is dominated by Western nations. Being cut off from SWIFT is basically being cut off from the global economy. BRICS members want their own system, their own rules. What BRICS actually built? Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Because BRICS didn't just complain. They actually built things. Weapon number 1. The BRICS Unit. On October 31st, 2025, a pilot program was launched for something called the Unit. A digital trade currency backed by 40% gold and 60% BRICS member currencies. Think of it as a digital gold coin that adjusts daily based on real gold prices and the value of currencies like the yuan, rupee, and riel. The combined gold reserves backing this system? Over 6,000 tons. Russia alone holds 2,336 tons. China has 2,298. And between 2020 and 2024, BRICS central banks purchased more than half of all gold bought globally. This is not theoretical anymore. A working prototype launched in December 2025. Weapon number 2. BRICS Pay. A decentralized payment system that lets member nations settle transactions in their local currencies. No dollars needed. It was a major discussion at the 2024 Kazan Summit, and it's being expanded throughout 2026. Weapon number 3. CBDC interoperability. Russia, China, and India are actively working to link their digital currencies, the digital ruble, digital yuan, and digital rupee, so they can communicate directly. If this works, it becomes a parallel financial highway that completely bypasses SWIFT. Weapon number 4. China's CIPS system. China's cross-border interbank payment system already has over 1,400 participants across 119 countries, linking nearly 4,800 banks in 185 countries. It's still smaller than SWIFT, but it's growing fast. Weapon number 5. Local currency lending. The BRICS New Development Bank now issues roughly 1/3 of all its loans in local currencies instead of dollars. Countries can build infrastructure without taking on risky dollar-denominated debt. And here's the kicker. Russia and China are already settling around 90% of their bilateral trade in rubles and yuan. The dollar is already gone from that relationship. America strikes back. Now, you didn't think the United States was just going to sit there and watch, did you? After winning the 2024 election, Donald Trump issued a direct threat. Any BRICS nation that tries to create a new currency or replace the dollar will face 100% tariffs. 100%. And it worked. Brazil's President Lula, who had been one of the loudest voices calling for a BRICS common currency, went quiet almost overnight. He dropped the idea entirely from Brazil's 2025 BRICS presidency agenda. Even Putin, whose country had billions in reserves frozen by the West, publicly stated that Russia was not seeking to abandon the dollar. His exact framing, quote, "We are not refusing, not fighting the dollar. But if they don't let us work with it, what can we do?" End quote. India went even further. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar declared in London in March 2025 that India has no policy to replace the dollar. He called it the foundation of global economic stability. And the July 2025 BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro? The final 126-point declaration didn't even mention the word de-dollarization. Not once. So the public rhetoric completely collapsed. The real story behind closed doors. But here's what makes this story so fascinating. What BRICS leaders say in public and what they're actually doing are two completely different things. While leaders were backing away from the word de-dollarization, the actual financial plumbing was being built at record speed. The unit pilot launched. CIPS kept expanding. Local currency settlements kept growing. Gold reserves kept climbing. Because here's the strategic reality. BRICS learned something crucial. You don't challenge the dollar with a press conference. You challenge it with infrastructure. Quietly. Slowly. Transaction by transaction. But, and this is important, there are real limitations. BRICS currencies are not freely convertible. They lack deep, liquid markets. India has zero interest in replacing dollar dependence with yuan dependence. Brazil feels the same way. And despite all the gold buying, gold still represents only about 10% of BRICS central bank reserves. That's half the global average. The share of BRICS currencies in global payments through SWIFT? Just 6.4% as of 2024. Growing. Yes. A threat to the dollar right now? Not even close. Where this is all heading. So where does this all go? The honest answer? De-dollarization is real. But it's going to be slow. Very slow. Think decades, not years. What we're witnessing isn't a revolution. It's an evolution. BRICS isn't going to kill the dollar tomorrow. But they are building the infrastructure so that when the moment comes, whether through a financial crisis, a geopolitical shock, or just the slow grind of time, alternatives will be ready. And history tells us this is absolutely possible. The British pound once dominated global reserves. In 1948, it held twice the share of the dollar. By 1980, it was down to just 2%. Currency dominance follows economic power. And economic power is shifting. The question isn't if the dollar's share will decline. It's how fast. And who benefits. So the summary is, the biggest financial chess game in modern history is unfolding right now. And most people have absolutely no idea. If this video opened your eyes, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because this story is far from over. I'll see you in the next one.